Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into the CHGO studios, Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. And alongside me is a different CHGO crew, but still the CHGO crew. We got Jared Wyllys, filling in for Vinny Duber, who is in a lane down under. You can follow Jared on Twitter, J Wyllys, Y's instead of I's. So
That's right.
WYLLYS.
There it is.
I really get
afraid
that I'm going to mix up W's and Y's, even though they're completely different letters. And that's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on. You want to say that again?
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. Nice to have you in here, Jared.
It's good to be here. It's been a little bit, but yeah, good to hang with you guys and talk some White Sox today. There's some stuff going on, not as active as maybe we'd like to be yet, but
that's baseball.
Yeah, it's early. It's early in the off season.
Right.
Free agency started, and baseball's like, yeah, great.
We're
good.
You might come back next year, and we still might be in the same position.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, I guess, is we could have the same conversation a few months from now. Nothing has changed.
Right. Something has changed since the last time you were here, and Jared is going to join us tomorrow as well, and we're excited for that. But something did happen, at least with the White Sox. Tony La Russa is no longer the manager, and now Pedro Grifol is now the new man at the helm and wearing Josh Harrison's old number, number 5. So what do you think? And I guess that's changed too. And A.J. Pollock. All right, so we got something.
Yeah.
But what have you made of the White Sox new hire and Pedro Grifol?
Yeah, I mean, my initial sort of general reaction is that I like the fact that they did go outside of the organization. That's been a criticism of the White Sox for a while now, is that they have been very insular and just kept it to managers who had previous connections to the organization, lots of former players making their way through. That sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so, first of all, just, glad to see them go outside of the organization. And they picked a guy who, just in listening to him in the press conference, who I feel like at least says the things that you want to hear a new manager say about finding the balance between the analytical side of managing a baseball team and just the human side of it too, because I think that's the tension that a lot of managers live in right now, is figuring out, how do I handle these two aspects of the game and straddle that line appropriately. So I think he says the right things, but this is his first managing position. So it's going to be a different story come April, May, June, once he's actually putting this into practice and dealing with the real world situations that a baseball season brings. But yeah, early reaction. I like it. The players seem very excited. Rick Hahn seems really excited. That's the happiest I feel like I've seen him in a while. So happy with all that. And I think what will be really big is, especially some of these younger players, if he can, I think, motivate some of these guys to push a little bit harder. There's a lot of talent there with some of the younger guys on the roster, but you don't want to say that they're not trying as hard as they could, but it did feel that way at times. I know there were a few veteran players who made comments that if you kind of read between the lines, you can pick up what they're trying to communicate about the effort of some of these guys. So I think if he can work on that as well, we could see a lot of improvements next season.
Yeah, and if you just got a guy or a girl off the street that knows baseball, but not in the particular everyday things that go on with the White Sox, and you said this team underachieved, I think generically any person would say, well, they probably underachieved because they didn't give maximum effort. Now you throw Pedro Grifol in there, who not only knows exactly about the White Sox, knows the players, some of them personally. And so he can reach those people and say, hey, this 2022 was unacceptable for anybody's standards, much less you guys' standards, because you guys are supposed to be Luis Robert and Yoan Moncada and Tim Anderson and etc. You guys were not. So we're going to get you to respect that who you are is at the top of the league, never in the middle, never middling. So I was looking at afar from you guys. This is Pedro Grifol. Looking at afar from you guys in 9 years, and you guys winning only one division is unacceptable. You guys are way more talented than anybody in this division, and it's my job to make you much better. And I'm glad that he's here, and I'm glad that he had an eye for the White Sox and saw them, and it's like, nah, not at all. They should be trying 100% each time. If they are giving multiple efforts, they can beat anybody in this league, and I think that he sees that, and I hope he can relay that to the players, and they can give their maximum effort every time they go out there.
The other part that's interesting, too, that Herb brought up is the fact that it is an intra-division hire, Pedro Grifol coming from the Royals, and them having their own managerial search. What did you make of the White Sox being the last to hire a manager and them ending up hiring a guy the Royals technically didn't hire?
That was a question that I had initially was, why didn't the Royals hire this guy themselves, or why aren't they trying to keep him in Kansas City? And who knows, behind the scenes, there could be other factors. It could be a lot of things. But that was something that I wondered about, and I think that's probably a question on a lot of fans' minds is, well, why, if this guy's so great, we're hearing all these wonderful things about him, why aren't you keeping him there? But that's, again, we're glad he's here based on what we're hearing so far. And I do really like the fact that he's coming from within the division, because, like Herb said, he knows the team already. And there is such an advantage to – I've watched you guys from the other side, and I've gotten a lot of practice at studying your weaknesses and looking for ways to exploit what you guys – where you have flaws or faults, or, where you fall short. And so you'd like to think that can lead to, all right, here's what we need to do to correct those things. Because in a lot of ways, this roster is not going to be too much different from what it was last year, or, I guess this year. And it's a roster that going into the season, on paper at least, everybody thought this is the team that's going to win the AL Central. They're contenders to go deep into the postseason. And so when you go into the following year with mostly the same roster, there's every reason to think that under the right leadership, they can get back to where we all expected they were going to be.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting regime, that's for sure. First regime to not have White Sox ties since, I guess, Jerry Manuel.
They said before Jerry Manuel, because apparently Jerry Manuel was a low-level scout for the White Sox when he first started doing stuff after his playing career. So
Gene Lamont.
Yeah, exactly. Gene Lamont. It's ridiculous. One of the first managers I ever remember as a White Sox fan was the last time they hired a guy from outside the organization. And you could even say Gene Lamont, he technically isn't, but he was part of what part of Jim Leland and them, who was a coach under Tony and such. So he had close ties and relationships. So even that is, he didn't have White Sox ties, but he knew white people who had White Sox ties. And that probably helped him get the job. After, who was it? Jeff Torborg got fired.
Did he have White Sox ties?
I'm sure he did. knowing Jerry, I'm sure he did.
And hey, Alex in the chat, nice to see you. Yeah, it is so far so slow with the MLB free agency. Not a lot happening. I know on the other side of town, it is getting a little bit interesting, and they're in a fun spot where people are looking at him or are looking at them as potential spenders. Joey, we are going to be opening up the mailbag today. We have the CHGO Lounge. If you are a CHGO member, we have a Discord channel where you get to ask.
Drop the comments right here. Drop them in right here. I'll be monitoring them.
That's true, but we do have some mailbag questions from the
yes, we do.
Discord.
Is it my turn to put those up?
Yeah, I'm cueing you.
Okay, here we go.
The Cubs are going to be spending this year, and we do have the Abreu question. If you do have that,
sorry,
one.
I don't know which one's which.
It's all good. Flash. Ooh,
bear with me here.
There you go.
There we go.
That's perfect. From our guy Shane Newbanks, he said, "When are the Cubs signing Abreu?" So, Jared, being a guy who covers both the White Sox and the Cubs, what is your temperature reading on this? Are the Cubs going to be signing Jose Abreu?
It sure seems like there's some meat on this bone. The Cubs really have not had a proper first baseman since they traded Anthony Rizzo. I don't expect, even though Anthony Rizzo rejected the qualifying offer from the Yankees, I don't think he has any interest in going back to the Cubs, so you can kind of take his name off of their wish list. And it's a move that makes a lot of sense for the Cubs. I think that I can see why Abreu would find it appealing. He gets to stay in Chicago. And join a team that maybe is on the rise. So, yeah, I think this is pretty legit. I don't know how White Sox fans are going to feel about that, seeing him in a Cubs uniform. But it's looking pretty likely.
Yeah, I have heard some rumors about the Red Sox, though.
Wherever he goes, I hope he doesn't go to the Houston Astros. If it's the Cubs, it's going to be hurting, but at least I get to watch him. Well, I don't because fucking Marquee. But
We have it on the TV over here.
yeah, but I won't be watching that. I'll be watching the White Sox lose that at that time.
We got 2 TVs over there.
Yeah.
You could sit on the couch and we
get an
have
eye on
done
both.
Cubs and Sox on TV. Come on.
Yeah, but I would be very, very sad if he goes to the Houston Astros. But the Cubs would make sense, as Jared said. Doesn't have to change his off-season or in-season address. His family could be comfortable with him. He murders at Wrigley Field. He would be an awesome addition to that Cubs lineup. I think that, as he said, Jared said with Anthony, he will, I believe, go to a former organization, but not the Cubs. I believe the San Diego Padres would be perfect for him. Go back out there, short right field porch, with all the talent they have. He would have zero pressure on him to produce, especially since their first basemen in the last couple of years have been Eric Hosmer and Will Myers, overpaid and not performing guys. He'll go out there and kill Anthony Rizzo would, and then Jose Abreu would be another person who would be available to go out to the San Diego Padres, but I think that might be a little too far from his offseason home in Miami for him to be doing most of his games on the West Coast.
Let me bring up Hosmer. The Red Sox are already paying Hosmer, so that's why I find it difficult for them to go out and get Abreu. But Cubs or Padres, which would make more sense for Abreu? And I mean, even the Rizzo thing. I mean, let's ask this first: like, who would you rather have if you're building a team at first base, Rizzo or Abreu?
If I'm just generic baseball fan with no bias, Anthony Rizzo. The home runs have stayed pretty consistent through his career. The lefty power bat is a thing. It's something the White Sox haven't had in a while. And so to have that in a stadium like San Diego or Wrigley or guaranteed rate field is a plus. I know Jose Abreu is a model consistency. He posts and he'll usually give you the good numbers. But if we're talking about those two, I think Jose is like 2.5, if not 3 years older than Anthony Rizzo. So that factors into it. I'm thinking you're probably going to be paying the same amount of money. So if I'm going to be paying a 36-year-old or a 33-year-old, I'm going to give the 33-year-old, who they have comparable stats, I'm going to give him the money for a longer deal.
Yeah, it comes down to a lot of the same things for me. The only thing that might sway me the other way is
the fact that Jose Abreu's got an MVP award.
And
does it?
When I think about guys I'm thinking about the Cubs in particular, somebody who can really have an impact on their clubhouse. There's some young guys on that Cubs team, like Christopher Morel, who would benefit immensely from having someone like Jose Abreu around. He learned a lot from Wilson Contreras this past year, and obviously Contreras is on his way elsewhere. So if it's about the Cubs, then I think Abreu makes a lot of sense for that reason too. But yeah, in general, I would take Rizzo of the two of them for sure.
And then for the Cubs specifically, though, like going back to Rizzo, is that somewhat like the Royals going to Pedro Grifol? Is it too insular? Is it too, of the same? Like, is it unlikely, or would you, like, if you had to put what is more likely, Abreu or a Rizzo reunion?
I think Abreu is more likely for them. And I think some of that too with Rizzo has to do with the fact that he didn't leave here Rizzo didn't leave here on a really good note. There were some bad feelings about the way the contract negotiations went, the extension offers that he was getting, and then I don't think he really liked the way that things were handled at the trade deadline. And so my impression with him is that he's very happy with what happened during his time with the Cubs, but I don't see him looking to revisit that or come back to Chicago, maybe at the very, very end of his career, but he's still 33 and I think wants to spend a few years somewhere else. I can see San Diego being very appealing because they're a team on the rise in the National League that with the right couple of additions could make a huge difference. So yeah, I think it's not like bad blood, but I think just enough of a sour taste in his mouth that Rizzo isn't really going to be looking to the Cubs.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember he was saying bye to Bruce Levine and crying in his interview. Yeah. There was a couple, he was crying outside of Wrigley there.
And even though he didn't grow up in the Cubs organization, as he was a Boston Red Sox and a Padre before he became a Cub, most Cub fans, and I'm sure he did, felt as if he was the modern day, and I hate to do it, Mr. Cub, because the man already has his name, and he's buried in a cemetery up north. His name is Ernie Banks. He's the modern day Mr. Cub, and so he felt like he should be treated as such. I'm still in my prime. Why are you trading me away? All it takes, I'm not looking to break the bank. I'm looking for a fair market deal. And I remember those negotiations, very, very contentious. And, initially it was Chris Bryant coming out years before where he's like, I'm not going to be settling for anything less than what my market value is. And fans kind of turned on him because he turned to more of the player rep and the business guy. Lost a couple games. And that's why Rizzo, I think, slid into Mr. Cub because he was always positive, playing with a twisted ankle. It was really bloodied. And so people saw him and say, that guy is Cub all the way. And so coming into the negotiations, I'm sure he felt like, hey, they're going to treat me as such. They're going to treat me like they need me. And they saw what was after Rizzo. Frank Schwindel, yeah, he had that good half year, but this past 2022 was terrible. And so they didn't have anything in the pipeline to replace him. And just to trade him away for nothing, they got something for it, but to trade him away and not really go in good faith in the negotiations, which they haven't re-signed any of those players. Every single one of them has gotten traded, or like Wilson Contreras is just going to walk away free agent. And he could feel a certain way about how the Cubs and the Rickettses did with that whole regime, which I think they should have kept at least 2 or 3 of those players around, and they didn't keep anybody around. It didn't matter what Rizzo did for the organization. It just mattered at the end of the day about business.
Yeah, and even with Rizzo, no, go ahead.
I was going to say and also when you consider he was there under a very team-friendly contract.
I was about to say that.
It was like 44 million, 7 years.
7 years, 44 million.
Oh, dropping the bucket.
Amazing that they had him on a deal like that. And he was there.
I think Eloy Jimenez signed something similar, and he hadn't even swung a bat yet in a major league game.
And then he was, also considering the fact that he was there through the 2012, 2013 seasons when things were just ugly. He was there through all of that and really rode that whole rise to the World Series team. It had been there every step of the way. And then, I can see why he would feel like, you guys didn't show me the respect that I feel like I earned. So, again, all that to say, I can't imagine if Jed called him if he's even going to pick up the phone.
Jeez. Alex in the comments saying that bridge is burned. So,
I agree.
Maybe so. And I'm with, his name is Stupid Donkey, but I think it's a smart comment. I'm with Stupid Donkey in the chat saying, hope Abreu can compete for a championship somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the Cubs, and sorry, Cody and Luke and Ryan and Corey, but at least in 2023, if you're saying who has a better chance to compete for a championship.
We're talking about championship, the whole thing, World Series?
Yeah.
We're just talking about NL Central Championship. Oh, yeah. I think they can compete for an NL Central Championship, not the whole thing, though.
Yeah, Rizzo or Abreu would help them compete for a Central title, but
yeah, they're not.
That's not
a World Series.
I want Jose Abreu to get a ring. He already has a Central division.
He's a really easy guy to root for, no matter where he's playing. I'm with Stupid Donkey.
Right. Yeah, we are both stupid donkeys today. And Dan from the 219 saying, would you feel better with the Sox decision to let Jose Abreu walk if he ends up having moderate regression this year? I just think it is such a hard pill to swallow. I don't think that you can really ever feel good about the decision, but the only way that you could feel good about the decision is if what the intention is of these younger players growing into their natural positions. As long as that window stays open, that just might have to happen. He was only signed to a 3-year deal. If they wanted him here longer, they could have made that happen when he was a free agent, and they could have made him a lifetime White Sox if that was the idea.
Jose ruined his leverage by saying he's going to come back no matter what. So you're already killed this time. And so I think,
but to be fair, he said that because the qualifying offer was extended to him, and then he signed.
No, he said that before the season even start. At the end of the season, and yes, they offered the qualifying offer. Then he signed an extension off of that. But no, I wouldn't feel good if he had a bad year or a regression or a year that he went down. I'm like, you treat, as we're talking with about Anthony Rizzo and the Cubs, you treat those guys different than you treat the rest. And Jose Abreu, I think, is special. And so no matter what happens, I think it's going to be a bad move. And the White Sox have to factor in They're extra moves for that bad move.
No matter what happens?
No matter what happens.
The White Sox win the World Series in 2023?
That's a result of a off season. Yeah, it's good. Okay. But I was still the move to move Jose Abreu off of first base would be the bad move. The result of the championship doesn't say, "Oh man, you wouldn't have won it without Jose Abreu."
I got you. Just want to make sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it would be a good offseason then. They would have a good offseason overall, but moving off of one of your best players of all time would be bad.
I mean, what do you make of the whole Abreu, should he stay or should he go?
It's kind of, in some ways, feels a little similar to the Anthony Rizzo situation. Somebody who, in Abreu's case, is clearly very invested in that organization, very, very much wants to stay there. I think if given the opportunity this offseason, he stays in a White Sox uniform. I think it means a lot to him to be in a leadership role on that team. We mentioned like Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada. His locker is right there next to those guys. I mean, he's in the locker room next to Eloy, Luis, Moncada. Like, they're all boom, boom, boom right there next to each other. So, and I remember, too, this is a few years ago, but back when, we still had Sox Fest. And I remember asking him about, how he saw himself on the team, and he used the word father. Like, he sees himself in that way because I think he wants to not only see the whole team succeed, but I think specifically there's some of those guys who he feels very invested in. And I think, too, going back to what I said earlier about comments from players about feeling like guys weren't giving their best effort, that was Abreu speaking. He never said any names directly. He's not going to do that. But if I had to guess, I would say that those are probably the guys he's thinking of. And not in a negative sort of way, like, these guys aren't trying. I think he feels frustrated by the fact that, like, guys, look at what we could accomplish if we're all doing, playing up to the level that we can and putting forth all the effort that we can. Because he talks a lot about, I'm here every day, I'm working hard every day, I can control what I do, I can't control what other people do, things like that. So it feels – I get the numbers. I understand all those things, the contracts, I get it, but there is still something to be said for an intangible value that a player brings to your locker room. And I think that Abreu is that kind of a guy. And where the White Sox are, where they're kind of, I feel like, teetering on the edge of really losing this competitive window, if I'm in charge, I make at least a really strong effort to keep Abreu there.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like Herb said. I mean, it's a lose-lose move either way. Even if you win the World Series, it doesn't make a lot of sense just because we all know that 79 is going to be retired one day at the rate. So,
absolutely,
it is baffling. Vernon's saying if Abreu leaves, then that means the Sox need all help with three bases.
No, not true.
I mean, like, third base, they're not. Nothing's happening with third base.
No, third base is pretty solidified. Yeah, and the defense.
He needs coaching.
Yeah, the defense at third base is awesome.
Yeah,
it just needs consistency and coaching. Like you said, Moncada is, when he's right, and I'll say it again, top 5 third baseman in the league when he's right, when he's playing ball like he was in 2021.
Well, and Vernon's comment didn't make sense to me, and high prices on sunglasses didn't make sense to Shady Rays. They never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles cater to everyone and every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays, they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear, lost and broken replacements. If you partied too hard at the CHGO tailgate yesterday and you broke your shades on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. They stand behind their product and told us that if anyone has a problem, they will throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. But you probably won't be dealing with that issue because over 200,000 5-star reviews have been given to Shady Rays high-quality sunglasses, and you have the deepest deal on shadyrays.com to explore. Use code CHGO for 50% on 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Again, at shadyrays.com, where you can find all of their newest and best shades. And next up is Game Time. If you're looking to go to a Bears game this season, if you're looking to go to a Bulls game this season, Joey, when's the next Bulls game?
The next Bulls game is on Wednesday versus the Pelicans.
Here?
Nope. It's in New Orleans, I think.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, sorry, not here.
that's good
Yes.
because then you'll need to make some plans in the future. You know, you can
Correct.
start planning.
It works for New Orleans, though. You could fly down to New Orleans if you want to.
If you're watching, if you're a Sox fan who lives in New Orleans, open up the app.
You go to a Pelicans
Go
game.
to the Smoothie King Center, or whatever they call it now.
And use
Not a
the-
great arena.
And use the Game Time app. It's the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. If you've ever been a White Sox fan, watching the CHGO White Sox show, living in New Orleans, and wanted to go to the Smoothie King Arena and watch the Bulls and Pelicans on Wednesday, the biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you never thought you could buy. You won't find a better deal this season if you are a White Sox fan listening in New Orleans on a Pelicans Bulls game.
$12 all-in tickets, $327 Wednesday. Smoothie King.
And it was
Go.
It was created by the fans for the fans, and it guarantees the lowest price. But truly, even if you're looking for a concert, I found concert tickets for a show happening at the Chicago Theater and was able to find 2 tickets for about $15 each. So if you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets to the link in the description and join over 15 million people who've downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. Any more Game Time apps?
The tickets elsewhere are much cheaper than they are at the United Center. Like OKC is $23, at the Jazz is $22, Suns is $64. Like these are the lowest seats all in pricing that you can get from.
I know. Last night at the United Center was like $130 though.
The only one I'm looking at that's much more expensive,
Bulls, baby.
of course, the Bulls at the Warriors and 12-2. It's $124.
Yeah, with the NBA, it's a lot
San
about is like you have to look at the opponent. You know, Bulls had Jokic in town last night, so there's more of a draw to go and see the 2-time MVP. It costs a little more money.
But I can't name a Charlotte Hornet, and those tickets are probably pretty cheap.
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball's
LaMelo
back.
Ball.
Oh, okay, LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
I can't name 2 Hornets.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward.
Okay, I can't name 3 Hornets.
I'll be done.
Bismack Biyombo.
I'll be done for your
Bismack
sake.
Biyombo's in Arizona.
No, I think he's on Phoenix.
Yeah, I think I saw.
He used to
something
be
on
though.
Twitter.
That's good, Herb.
Anyways,
He was a Bobcat before they became the Hornets.
He was.
Cody Zeller.
Did you watch that thing? Oh, okay.
I had a really cool Charlotte Bobcats jersey though when I was little.
Anyone on the
Mecca
back?
Okafor.
My guy.
Oh, yeah.
Also on the cover of NCAA March Madness 04.
That's why I had it.
Great game. So you talked about leadership and possibly losing that leadership from Jose Abreu. One of the guys when he first signed here, largest contract in team history, Yasmani Grandal, he immediately went on 6-7 to score and said, we're ready to win a championship for Jose Abreu. And if the White Sox are looking for veteran leadership, Yasmani Grandal in his 4th year is going to need to step up if Jose Abreu steps out. And Will in our Discord, this was before even the what's it called? The Mailbag Monday prop was even dropped. But he said, I can't wrap my head around wanting to get rid of Grandal. Yes, he was abysmal last year, but before he had that, he never had a season with under 100 OPS plus or WRC plus. And then Daniel Lafferty said he's a 34-year-old catcher, so those typically don't get better once they decline. And then Will said, don't think it's fair to use 376 plate appearances while battling injury as an indicator of decline. It could be, but he has the pedigree to make it worth giving him a shot. And he would feel different if there's an obvious replacement, at least in the organization. We can clearly say there isn't. But at least for Will, the White Sox probably can't get rid of Yasmani Grandal. I mean, they could eat his money, but I think it's worth at least seeing what he has left. We have a little bit more of what he possibly has left to give. But what are the expectations for a 34-year-old catcher after he had massive knee surgery and struggled to gain strength last year?
He can't be worse than he was in 2022.
You think?
He
God bless
absolutely
you.
cannot be worse. 5 home runs is his power. You could tell is drained. Like those balls, even though he squared them up, there's very few bat flips or bat drops. When he knows that he's got it. Bat drop. He did it only 3-4 times, and a couple of those home runs just went over the fence because he's got natural power. He regains the power in his legs and the stamina that it takes to catch 130 plus games a year. I think he'll be back to being Yasmani Grandal of 2021. That guy in the second half was an absolute beast. And I thought that was the guy we're getting in 2022, and that's why I thought the White Sox would ascend because of all the power and all the depth they have. As far as if one guy goes in a slump, you have 4 or 5 other guys that are pretty much at the top of the league at their position. Now, you can't get rid of Yasmani Grandal as the reasons you stated. His salary, he's on his last year of his deal. He's 34 years old. He's a catcher that doesn't catch very well. But the shift is going away. That's causing some of his batting average to go down. So having that go away, a couple seeing eye singles, I wonder if teams will do this to him, have the right fielder like just play a de facto shift. And anything that goes over his head is going to be a double anyways because it's Yasmani Grandal. Mm-hmm. And so having the right fielder play like a shorter right field and then have him field the ball and throw it to first base to get Yasmani out since you can't do the shift anymore. It will be creative usage of that. And I think, and even if a ball goes over his head, it might still be a single. Hell, I know because I'm as slow as he is.
Well, there's nothing against outfield shifts. I mean, just move the center fielder to right field, move the left fielder to center field, and make the right fielder play a short right.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that, but you could. Yeah, move your right fielder in, slide the center fielder over, and they'll do that for a few years, and then
they'll outlaw that.
They'll outlaw that.
Yeah, they're going to go zones in the outfield. But I think a bounce back year for him and Yohan Moncada are natural next year. Yasmani, because this is the opportunity, firstly, to rebuild some of his market as going into the last contract he'll probably sign as a major league player. His 34-year-old Yasmani Grandal needs to have a good year to say, okay, I could be a starter on somebody else's team. Here's one last $1 million contract, not going to be the $73 million that he got from the White Sox. And then also to help this team as the void of Jose Abreu's gone, another Cuban can lead those guys who are – Yasmani's usually to himself, working hard, but to himself. But if he sees a guy stepping on line, hey, that's not what we do here. I'm the veteran leadership now. You need to stay in line, and I'll keep you in line like this. Yeah. So it'll be very valuable that he, for himself, to be better this year.
And I think he doesn't even have to, having the expectation that he's going to become again Yasmani Grandal of, a few years ago. He may not be able to do that, even injuries aside, at 34 years old. That's just not a reasonable expectation for a catcher, but especially given what his body has been through in the last year. But it's not going to take much to look a lot better than what he was in 2022. So even a slight improvement or meeting halfway between the 2021 version and last year's version is a huge gain for the White Sox offensively. And, now that he's been there for a few years, he's gotten to know some of these younger players, he's in a better position to step into that role, that absence left by Abreu, and he can step into that role, I think, a little more easily. So that's sort of the silver lining maybe to how poor 2022 was for him is you really kind of know the reason for it. The guy was injured all season long and physically not himself. And so if he really is physically able to get back to even close to where he was before, he's just bound to improve.
Absolutely. And Rick Hahn said about Yasmani down in the GM meetings, and this is from James Fegan's recent piece in The Athletic, having Yasmani be right, the 2021 version, much less the guy he was much leading up to that. The guy is a huge asset to the 2023 White Sox. There's always the health risk with any player, but it's more compounded with the guys who have been previously had injury issues. You factor in the best you can, and you spend a decent amount of time looking for the underlying causes for why a guy fell off and whether the underlying metrics and analysis show reasonable expectation of regression. My biggest worry, and it's not analytics or anything about regression, it's the number 34. He just turned 34 years old, and he has never played over 100 games as a White Sox. And to be fair, first season, it's COVID year, only 60 games, so he could only play 46, but 93 in 2021 and then 99 in 2022. And my big concern then is how many catchers 34 years or older have even caught 100 games.
Did you do research?
Yeah, I did. You want to guess?
How far are we going back?
Ever.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow.
34 years old that caught over 100 games in a season. I would say the number is like 20.
Okay, it's definitely more than that. 143.
Okay.
All right, but that's still not a lot.
These are all these people are from like
ever, right?
Ever.
Yeah.
Since 19, I think this goes
01?
back to 87. No, 1887. I think this goes-
1887.
This,
Yeah. So
this goes all the way back.
so that's
I bet you most of those people are from like the 90s and then before that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that pops out a ton is Carlton Fisk. No shocker there. Jorge Posada pops up a lot as well. AJ pops up a couple times. I mean, the big number is out of those 143 that caught 100 games. If we are looking as Yasmani Grandal as this great hitter who has never had a season with 100 OPS plus or 100 weighted runs created less in a full season outside of 2022, only 48 catchers have had, out of those 143, only 48 catchers have had a season where they've caught 100 games and an OPS plus over 100. So Yasmani obviously has the background, but I don't know if he has the knees to do it. So that's where the conversations of Sean Murphy, I think, end up coming in, and the discussion of moving him to first base, Yasmani Grandal to first base.
And I mean, and we talked about it yesterday in our pod-only version of this show. It's not a congruent move to say, hey, Jose, thanks, but we don't want you back for the 2023 White Sox because it's Andrew Vaughn time, and then immediately move Andrew Vaughn for somebody else. Those are not congruent moves. If they were just to go and get Sean Murphy without Andrew Vaughn, I'm in. But that was part of the rumor, and we're going off of that.
Right.
But
Unless they trade Colson Montgomery, which I would also find shocking.
Me too. But I find it interesting in that piece that James Fegan wrote that yet another White Sox player feels the need to go outside the organization to get help.
I wondered about that as well.
He's
He's
weird.
getting somebody from the Blackhawks, not even a
Right.
baseball guy,
No.
but somebody from the Blackhawks to work with him. And when I read that article, I thought the same thing. And he's flying these people in to come and work with him, and it's somebody who completely outside of the organization. That's interesting and potentially telling.
Yeah, the guy that Yasmani Grandal is currently working with is Chicago Blackhawks strength and conditioning coach Paul Goodman, and this is from James' piece. In the past, Grandal has indicated his interest in staying in Chicago beyond the end of his 4-year contract, which runs through the end of next season. I think that the idea is maybe just because hockey players have such strong legs. I really don't know the idea there. I mean, we did see the White Sox, and this was a question, I think, from Clark in the CHGO lounge as well. Any news about the White Sox bolstering their analytics department or their strength and conditioning departments? There was a recent announcement from a person who was formerly in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization coming over to the White Sox. We did see that, but then Rick Hahn also addressed the comments about their small analytics department, and he basically said, we have people that aren't in the media guide that are also a part of this organization. So at least to answer Clark's question, I think is a little bit later. They're trying to build out this strength and conditioning department, but I don't know how small it is. What is the need for him to go outside? Because obviously it's not like the lockout's restraining him from talking to anybody like it was last year.
Yeah, and Logan Jones is the name of the new strength and conditioning. Well, he labels himself as White Sox performance coach. So he moved over from the D-backs to the White Sox just a couple days ago. So it's good to see that they're hiring more, maybe newer players to get not only best performance, but solve some of these soft tissue injuries, solve some of these injuries that keep these players off the field from not playing 100 games in your 3 years you've already been here, Yasmani Grandal. I just, is there no one on the White Sox, or is no one that the White Sox recommend that's a White Sox adjacent that he can work with, a guy down in Miami at his own house, can get better, can get stronger?
But he's living in Chicago right now. That was part of the story, is that he's staying in Chicago.
I mean, there's people here in the Chicagoland area you can get that don't work for don't work for the Blackhawks. Lucas Giolito, famously. I mean, it worked out for the White Sox. It's finally they got Ethan Katz as their guy. But Don Cooper was his actual pitching coach, and he went outside the organization. It's like, I'm going to go back to my high school coach and get help with my delivery. It seems like that's not a good thing for your organization if you have players. So at least it's good for your organization to have the freedom that they can ask anybody to help them, but they feel like they got to ask somebody else outside the organization, hey, can you get me right? Because these guys with the White Sox have it. Because you saw Yasmani Grandal in April, and Vinny was telling us he's playing through the injury instead of rehabbing the injury and then coming back when you're 100%.
Right.
These are White Sox things, which I think are messed up. And I don't know if it's from the organization, from the strength and conditioning, from the doctors, from the trainers, but whatever they're doing it incorrectly, and the players can see it. For me, if this screams that they don't trust the White Sox strength and conditioning coaching staff.
Well, I mean, you mentioned as long as it's White Sox adjacent. I mean, Jared, what do you make of this? I mean, Alex saying Jerry and the Wirtz family are tight. Obviously, you know they've peacefully shared the United Center for 25 plus years here. So
who knows? Yeah, it could be something where somebody within the White Sox organization said, "Oh, you know who you should talk to, or why don't you go work with this guy?" The path to getting to the strength coach with the Blackhawks, there could be something there. But I don't know. I still think it is interesting that given everybody you already have access to within your organization, you still choose to go outside of it. I do wonder, like I said, at the fact that he went outside of baseball altogether. That does make me curious about, was he just going into it saying, I want like a totally different kind of perspective? Maybe it is a hockey players and leg strength kind of thing, leg flexibility.
Well, I wonder too, because just to build on that, there's a part of this story too, where James talks about during his rehab stints at AAA Charlotte in 2022, Grandal would encounter catching coordinator Julio Mascara, and Mascara talks about we talked about a couple things to get ready to make sure when he goes down to block, he relaxes, that he doesn't have much impact in his legs. So knowing a little bit about hockey, the goaltending style of butterfly, it's all about standing up, moving down, getting down on your knees, and popping back up. So I would think that it's similar movements as blocking pitches. So that's why I think there might be that connection between hockey and building up leg strength.
Yeah, this man's in season though too. Like he's working with other players, so
he's a little busy right now too.
Taking him away from Blackhawks people. So whatever it is,
how busy is he?
It is White Sox. I mean, I would think he would be.
Well, when they're playing the games, he's probably got to be in the building. But when
running drills and such, and make sure they're eating the right food. But yeah, I think Yasmani Grandal is due for a bounce back year, and if this strength and conditioning coach of the Blackhawks can help him out, God bless. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you better next year in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's good. I mean, I think as long as he's not taking steroids and getting good, I think people are going to be fine with it.
Clark said they're going to win in the corners. Some greasy ghouls.
They're going to get a lot of grinders through signing these cheap contracts. Jason Hayward too. He's a free agent now, so maybe we'll talk about him.
Congratulations, Jason.
Right after this break, you probably have lights in your house. You probably pay a ComEd bill. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and business in the communities we serve. That's here in Chicago and all of the Chicagoland area. The communities we serve and manage energy usage and lower energy bills now into the future. ComEd offers a wide array of incentives on lightings and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across our territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage and more. Incentives have recently increased for outdoor and indoor lighting and network lighting controls, making these projects even more cost efficient than ever before. So visit ComEd.com/poweringbiz, that's BIZ, now to start saving money and energy. And to start a project, contact us at 1-855-433-2700. For more information, email businessee@comed.com or publicsectoree.com. And our next partner, I needed some of their nice hoodies yesterday as it was freezing in our CHGO tailgate parking lot, and you can check them out at foco.com. That's FOCO. Chicago, you've already got the best coverage for your favorite sports team, so get fitted in the best sports gear around. Foco has you covered from Soldier Field to the living room, north or south side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get decked out like tomorrow with apparel from the leaders in sports merch and collectibles. Foco, looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life? Foco's got you covered with hoodies that fight that Lake Michigan breeze. So check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. And for all non-presale items, use promo code CHGO for 10% off. That breeze was terrible. And that giant building that was like stories high was brutal as well, blocking our sun. But we got a little bit of sun yesterday.
And I'm curious if someone who missed the tailgate yesterday, will they get another opportunity to attend a CHGO Bears tailgate?
That's very slick of you. Yes, on December 4th, we will have the next Bears tailgate, the final one of the season for the Bears-Packers game. So make sure you check out allchgo.com for tickets, so you make sure that you can join and have some Green Ridge Farm meats, because we have so many, like, just actual packages of sausage in the fridge right now that just makes me want to steal. There's the jalapeno and cheddar ones, and I think it would just be a fantastic dinner. So, hey, I am excited for the next tailgate, because that just means more meat in my life.
Me too. I ate.
You're cutting up with Jimbo.
I ate a couple of them. I ate like probably 3 of those.
There's some dancing going on.
Oh yeah, it was good. When you play the Cupid Shuffle, I got to dance. Sorry.
Yeah,
You killed it.
support it.
All right, let's get into the final questions. We'll do a little bit of rapid fire here and get out of here. So, Joey, if we want to go to the next comment, pull up whatever you want. This one's from Other Sean. Looking at payroll, there isn't much the team can afford. Keeping the young guys, cheap young guys, is a necessity. They could trade young minor league talent. Question: what free agent outfielders are available and affordable that they should sign? No dreams, just reality. Reality for Jason Hayward. He's now a free agent. You're making that face, but he might be cheap. I mean, he's got a Gold Glove. I mean, what do we think of Jason Hayward?
No.
No.
I love the guy. I love to hear him talk. I love to converse with him. He's a very heady man and a leader. But no, I don't need that unless he wants to be a manager eventually, which I think he'll be a good one. Not as a baseball player. I think he's cooked. He's washed, which is fine. He got his money. He got his championship, and I think he's fine with, how his career is winding down. And as a White Sox fan, I would just look for him at afar and say, hey, whatever you do on some other team, I'm going to cheer you from afar, but hopefully they don't offer him anything, not even a minor league deal, because that's not what banking on Jason Hayward to be the 26-year-old the Cubs signed is
It's a minor league deal.
No.
What did Johnny Cueto do for you on a minor league deal?
Stop it. Johnny Cueto was like a 4.5 ERA last year with San Francisco, so he at least was like a major league pitcher that was doing well.
From 2019 to 2020, Jason Hayward had a 106 OPS.
Yeah, well, give me a flux capacitor and what is that, 1.21 gigawatts, and I'll get that Jason Hayward back.
Get him with Chris Johnson.
As someone who spent years covering the team, the Cubs, and therefore years of, all right, this is the year that Hayward's going to get it together at the plate. He's fixed his swing. He's done this. He's worked with this guy, and then continued to see the poor man ground out to second base. It's just, and like Jason Hayward is one of my most favorite people in baseball. Just as a human being, as a man, you don't find many better than him. But White Sox, don't sign him. Spend your money elsewhere, even on a minor league deal, because you're giving him money in hopes that something is going to happen that hasn't happened in several years now.
Mm-hmm. Really long time.
I don't know. I mean, you look at 2021 StatCast, his max exit velocity was in the 95th percentile. I don't know. I feel like this is what Cubs fans were doing.
Exit velocity right into the ground on its way to the second base.
We could fix them. We could fix them. If we are going to work in reality here, I brought up the names Joey Gallo and Andrew McCutchen. I think at least Gallo, I know people are worried about the 160 batting average. I think he had 57 hits last year, and 17 of them were home runs. But if the White Sox need left-handed power, is that not the guy?
Yeah, and they hurt for power last year, and their home run numbers were down significantly. So somebody who can help boost those numbers, especially from the left-handed side of the plate. And yeah, you hope that you can fix whatever led to that 160 batting average, but they both would be, I think, great additions for a team that could use some veteran leadership, again, to fill the void that's going to be left by Abreu. McCutchen's another great guy. But yeah, I love the Gallo possibility.
And I don't know who we were talking to yesterday. It was either Baloney Peter or Jimbo about the platoon that they might employ out there in left field. You get a person like Joey Gallo to face right-handers for the most part, and then you pair him with Tommy Pham, another free agent who's a right-hander who can play both the corner outfielders. He's a little up there and with the mentals, but he's
nothing like veteran leadership like that guy. He'll run one tight fantasy league.
He'll make sure that you don't get out of line, JLC.
He'll lead you in something.
Sorry,
slaps.
Sorry, JLC. And that would be a one complete left fielder you can have there, which you're not spending millions of dollars. You're probably spending for that combination $20 million total
on Pham and Gallo.
Yeah. If not, I
that, guess, yeah,
I would say even less than that.
Yeah,
probably do it.
So if they want to be White Sox, do a White Sox type move, that would be a White Sox top move.
Gallo's such a weird one. Yeah, Pham's probably not going to cost more than like $5 million, or I think he made $6 million last year. But Gallo's like a weird one. Like people might really fall in love with him. Like Colorado's pretty stupid, and Colorado spends a lot of money. So,
yes, and like other Sean pointed out, the fact that the shift is going away may help Gallo's batting average come back up a little. So I'm talking myself into this.
I think you have to with some of these White Sox players.
Seeing that short right field porch and guaranteed rate, hitting the 108 from time to time, sending balls there, I could see that happening at least 20 times in that ballpark next year. And if we get 20 home runs from a corner outfielder, it's been a minute. It's been a real long minute. I mean, I know Eloy hit it, 2 or 3 years ago?
No, it's Daniel Palka.
Oh, my Jesus.
Probably for right fielder.
I mean, Eloy did hit 20-plus home runs. No, he hit 31 in his rookie year.
He hit 31.
And went in 2019. So
Who was the guy after that, though? I think it was Daniel Palka.
No, Daniel Palka wasn't in our good years, was he? He was in, 2019 that's alongside Eloy, wasn't he? He wasn't in the 2020 team. I'm pretty guaranteed.
I think he was gone by then.
Yeah, I think, but he hit 20?
Yeah, he hit a bunch of home runs.
28? He hit 27 in 2018. So, and most of those coming to right field. Gallo did hit 38 home runs in 2021. And the one thing too, just bringing up the shift, he had 10 plate appearances in 2022, not facing the shift, and had a weighted on base percentage of 287 against the shift. 90% of the time it was a 273. It was much better in 2021. So hopefully just new scene and not being in New York and LA could boost him. But again, that's why I think someone might just fall in love with him, because he does have that crazy, crazy power.
And Masman, I see you. Gallo does strike out a bunch. I don't mind strikeouts if you're hitting a bunch of home runs. I don't mind at all. If you're hitting 30 home runs a year, you strike out 200. I think sometimes you gotta just have that on the team sometimes, because I'm tired of having strikeouts without the home runs, which we've had this past year.
Right.
So might as well shoot for the downs every once in a while. And if you strike out, you strike out. Sometimes strikeouts are the best outs.
Well, and the thing too, I mean, old Babe Ruth used to lead the league in strikeouts every now and then. 5 times he led the league in strikeouts, just because his whole idea was, I'm going to try to hit the hell out of the ball every time I swing. So, if you do end up hitting the ball and hitting the hell out of it, 38 times, that's pretty good.
And theoretically, Gallo would be the 4th, 5th, if not 5th or 6th player you're going to count on offensively if he's on this White Sox team, if everything's going right.
Yeah.
You're much more invested in Yohan, Luis, Eloy, Andrew Vaughn, and probably Yasmani Grandal. And so he can do that. He could just hey, you're a home run guy. Hit home runs. That's the right hand on the bump. You 4 at bat. See if you can take one out.
Right.
Cool? Break.
Yeah.
And he's going to be great defensively, guys. Somebody brought this up. Other Sean pointed out. You're going to have an upgrade defensively out of any left fielder you put out there for the White Sox.
That's true. And we'll get to Gavin Sheets in just a second. Some other names that are out there that I think just looking for left-handed outfielders, Benintendi, but he doesn't hit a ton. You also have David Peralta, who was just with the Arizona team, and also the Rays. And I like Profar. You like Profar?
I like Jared.
Do you think he's going to end up in San Diego, or do you think they're moving on?
I think they probably would move on from him, because they have to put Fernando Tatis somewhere. Probably it's going to be in center field. So then you got to move your center fielder, who's a Gold Glover, Trey Grisham, to left field, because he probably can't play right, because he has an arm, but I don't think he has a right fielder's arm. So Tatis will probably have to play center or right field, and you have to move somebody else to left field, and that'll be the end of Jerickson Profar.
There you go. But he's also got some flexibility, which I like about him. And the other name I'd throw in there too is Conforto, just because he might be cheap for what he could produce if he is fully healthy. All right, Joey, let's go to some of these other final questions here from the Discord. We got this one from Clark. We did answer this. Any updates to the strength and conditioning and analytics department? Rick Hahn said the analytics department is bigger than you think it is, or bigger than we report it is. And then Jackson Knox, what was this guy's name? Whatever the new guy's name
Logan
from
something.
Arizona. Logan Ryan, or is that a defensive back?
He's a defensive back for the Tennessee Titans.
Next up, we got from Alex Potnos. We all know, except
Jones.
Sean, there's no way Andrew Vaughn's legs are going to make up for Abreu's production. But what do you think will be the impact of losing Abreu's leadership? Would it throw the team into more chaos, or would losing P2 force that young core of players to take the next step forward as leaders? Would leadership from Robert, Jimenez, Vaughn, and Moncada make a bigger impact on the team than Pito's 30 and 100? We kind of answered this a little bit, but let's just throw in who's your daddy's question as well, being Lance Lynn for Jeff McNeil, who says no. So if the White Sox get rid of, let's say, Jose Abreu and Lance Lynn, what does this clubhouse look like?
I don't like that at all.
Chaos.
Yeah. I say no to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jeff McNeil. Awesome lefty bat, second baseman, power, all that good stuff. But you're losing a rotation piece, and you don't usually, and Rick Hahn doesn't like trading pitchers without getting a pitcher back, and then you would have another hole in the starting rotation, which they currently have. They don't have a fifth starter, and some would say they don't have a fourth starter, as Lucas Giolito struggled this year. But I think Jose Abreu is more of a leader by example, as Jared was saying. He's like, I can't make these people work out. I work out every day. I do this. I'm leading by example. I'm doing this, guys. You see the numbers. You see the health. You see me at the end of the year with all these games. How do you think I get there? How do you think I stay in the game? Because I work out. Now, you can come along with me, or you cannot. I can only offer you the chance to work out with me. And I think Johnny Cueto did that the same. Ronaldo Lopez didn't want to run stadiums, but we saw at the end of the year, Luis Robert joined him one time. Those things rub off on you. Now you don't have that leader in Jose Abreu, and then if you don't have the leader in Lance Lynn, who is no nonsense. No one wants to cross Lance. And as Vinny has said many times, and Jared can give you an example too, people look forward to him and listen to him and listen to Liam and listen to Jose Abreu in that clubhouse, and Tim to a certain extent in that clubhouse, and they follow the lead of those guys. And so I think losing both of those guys, not just the players and the production, the leadership that's in the clubhouse would be tough.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. That's exactly how I feel.
It would be ugly. Let's go to the report card now for Gavin Sheets, and thank you to everybody in the CHGO Lounge sending in your Mailbag Monday questions. Gavin Sheets is the next player that we have to give a report card to. And there was a question, too, about, trading some of these younger players and what's the idea of trading these players if you actually can't get rid of some salary. You'd need Gavin Sheets to step up a big time or immensely if you're not going to be spending a ton this year. So now, Joey, that you got the report card in, we'll flash it. Gavin Sheets for the 2022 season: offense got a C, defense D-, and overall he got a C-. At least let's start with defense here. I know our guy Beefloaf from Section 108 and Chirizi were saying that he was looking a little bit better later on in the season. His best season best month in left field was September, where he had a 0 outs above average. But outside of that, he had the third best arm on the team, which is all right, but also the 87th out of 90th worst jump out of outfielders in all of MLB. So overall, we're going to give him a D- because he has an okay arm.
I think his offense was graded on, and how we got that C was graded on how bad he was initially. He went down to AAA, fixed his swing, and came back with a power stick, and also adjusted to what the shifts were doing to him. You're going to play me in a shift? Cool. I'll let this ball travel deep and hit that ball over to third base, shortstop side, and get me a knock. I just think the guy didn't hit as well as we see at the end of the year. The numbers speak for themselves. Like, he was worse than he was last year in all the categories that you look for: average, on base, and slugging percentage. And the year before, we're like, good rookie year, as we weren't expecting this from you. Can you build off it? Which I don't think he did. He hit a couple home runs, and people felt empowered because of the lack of home run power on this team. I think he finished with 15 home runs. But for the most part, he was not good offensively, not good defensively. I wish I could give him a worse grade, but I gave him overall a C-. So, because it's the White Sox.
It's the White Sox.
Yeah, I think I was looking for him this year to build on and improve upon some of the things that he did well in 2021. And when given, he had 410 plate appearances, which is pretty close to a full season. And like Herb said, just got worse in pretty much every category. Walk rate was down, not getting on base as much. His OPS was down. Overall power numbers were down. And just, not the direction at all that you want to see a 26-year-old guy making, who might be in a position where he has to become one of the more central parts of your offense in coming years. So, yeah, not just a C is perfect for him at the plate, because that's exactly what it's been. But the expectations, I think, going into this next year are you've really got to step it up.
Yeah, especially from the power department. I mean, it was weird, too. Him and Jake Berger just loved hitting home runs at guaranteed rate field, but nowhere else this year. They really just struggled to find their power.
And making errors, too, at
outside.
guaranteed rate, too.
Yes. Both
of them loved it.
Jake Berger especially. But 15 home runs was right for Gavin Sheets. And after he got called up, it was a little bit better. His overall season OPS was 706. After he got called up in those 80 games, a 769 OPS, which was about league average, but still just not enough home runs. 11 home runs over those 80 games, which for the White Sox, a lot. Yes. But just not consistent enough where, I don't think I trust 27-year-old Gavin Sheets at this point, going to be 27 in April, 27-year-old Gavin Sheets as a right field first base option. I hope Oscar Colas just beats him in spring training, and we don't have to worry about Gavin Sheets, and he could be the AAA caliber or the quadruple A caliber player that it feels like he is.
He can go back home. Maybe a trade, as I suggested. And Baltimore is just like drunk that day. He's like, man, we're just feeling so much Baltimore today. And when White Sox call up, it's like, hey, Anthony Santander for Gavin Sheets.
Oh, stop
like,
it.
Cool. And they send him back. It's like, no trade backs. I got him. And then Santander is over to Chicago. But no, that won't happen. I just hope that he can get a chance out there in his great state of Maryland. Crab cakes and football. That's what Baltimore does, or Maryland does.
And hanging out with Boog Powell. And
sketchy areas.
Mazman saying Ruth also had a ton of walks. Yes, Babe Ruth was very good at baseball. Not trying to take anything away from Babe Ruth. He struck out, walked a lot, and hit home runs. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Jared Wyllys for sitting in today for Vinny Duber, and he will be back tomorrow. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Willis, Wise instead of Eyes, and that's Herb Lawrence.
Did you hear what Lawrence was whistling when he went past?
Hi-Ho Cheerio?
No, the Farmer in the Dell.
Isn't it the same tune, though?
But the Farmer in the Dell is specific to Baltimore because The Wire, and that's what Omar was whistling.
Oh, that's deep.
Very nice, Lawrence.
Okay.
Lawrence is out here.
Is he actually using the washroom, or did he just do that?
Working on a different level.
Just so he could walk by.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. I haven't watched The Wire, so that's on me.
I haven't seen it either.
All right.
Both you guys need to watch it.
Now we need to go to HBO Max.
It's,
You a Wire guy, Joey?
No.
Okay.
But I have seen some of it, and I do appreciate it, as I know that it is like considered to be.
I know it's HBO Max.
It's great.
Well, it's like the second, groundbreaking shows. Like The Sopranos changed TV, and then The Wire took it and brought it even up a level.
Yeah, noted White Sox fan Idris Elba in that show, right?
He is.
Yeah. So there you go.
Stringer Bill.
At Actionball23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. Thank you to Joey for producing the show. You just dropping Wire references now?
No, I said follow him.
Oh, follow him.
Follow Herb.
And,
Actionball23.
Are you at 800 yet?
Oh, the race to 800 is complete. Thank you, Twitter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Just before it shuts down.
Yes.
So shout out to
yeah, exactly.
shout out to Joey.
I'm going to be the first person with 100K on Mastodon or whatever it's called. So that's what we're up to.
Best of luck. Herb gave you props for whistling.
For your Farmer and Dell reference. Good job, brother.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the CHGO White Sox podcast.